we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us on yet another episode of the podcast. And on today's episode, I have a phenomenal guest all the way from Cameroon, and she
Well,
will have a phenomenal guest with us today, all the way from Cameroon. And she will be sharing with us today on the subject matter of leveraging indigenous crop like cassava for climate resilience and rural development within Africa. And she is no other than Nancy Nalova. She is a passionate leader in sustainable agriculture and a certified business consultant with over a decade years of experience within the agricultural sector. She brings in deep technical and strategic expertise in crop and livestock production, soil fertility, water quality, and farm profitability. As the executive director of NAN Agric in Cameroon, Nancy supports agripreneurs and agricultural businesses with consulting services in strategy, marketing, finance, and management. She is an advocate for climate smart agriculture, and she's committed to helping communities adopt practices that are best suited for productivity and preservation of the environment. Nancy is also a dedicated African Union volunteer, environmental activist, food sovereignty advocate, ecofeminist, and agricultural technician. She is known in many circles as a proud cassava enthusiast. She's passionate about advancing food systems that are just, inclusive, and sustainable. She's also engaging in conversations around leadership, agriculture, community development, and sustainable food security. And she enjoys sharing insights while learning from others in the agro space. With a round of applause, we welcome Lady Nancy. I'm super excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us on this episode. How are you doing today?
thank you very much, Osarugue. The pleasure is all mine. Sharing is learning, and when you share, you add the plus to your skills because the more you share, the more you get adapted or acquainted with what you know. So thank you very
True.
much. The pleasure is mine being here, actually.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So I think how we'll start out this conversation is, can you just sort of tell us how you got into agriculture? Because it's I won't say it's rare, but sometimes we typically see people now more in tech, in education, in finance, in other spaces. So how did your journey in agriculture, becoming an agro consultant started for you?
Okay. I'll not go the normal story. I grew up in an agricultural milieu. Even though actually I grew up in an agricultural milieu, yeah, mom and
Oh,
dad were into agriculture, livestock especially, and grandpa too livestock. So we grew up in that sphere. But when I went to school, I didn't do agriculture. I did geology. Yeah, I was aspiring to become a petroleum engineer, where the
wow.
money is. Before
Mhm.
we knew that petrol is where the money is. So that's what I did, petroleum engineering. And after
Okay.
my graduation, I had a lot of difficulties furthering my studies because to really be certified as a petroleum engineer, after your degree, you have to do masters. After masters, some special courses. So I had no means for masters, and
Mm.
that got me worried. Like, okay, so I finished school. I don't have a means for masters. What's next? Mommy and daddy, they also have to take off the junior ones. So I decided to do, small part-time jobs. And I met one man, Mr. Boris, is into agriculture. So that is how I started volunteering in his farm. And alongside volunteering, that passion started coming. I'm like, okay, why don't I go and learn this thing more? Like to really
Mm.
study this thing and know this thing well. I went
Yeah.
back to school, like registered back in the university year one, started all over again with agriculture. Yeah, started all over. And after my graduation, I had to, start doing small, small side jobs, gathered money. I did my master's in agribusiness still because I really wanted to familiarize with that chain. After my agribusiness, I was like, okay, so what's next? Am I looking for a job or am I starting something? So that is where the the real I would say the real decision making was like, am I working with the government or am I starting
Mm.
my and after all the deliberations, I'm like, okay, why don't I start my own business? And looking around, the only thing I could think of that could be sustainable enough, like to help both the community and help youths while giving me pleasure was to explore the value chain of cassava. You know,
Oh.
cassava is I'll say it's my savior crop. Back from
Wow.
um back from my boarding school days, cassava was yeah.
Mm.
When everybody's struggling for food, I don't bother. I go to the canteen like a big girl because I know whether the food is much or not. Behind, I have my gari that I can just sip and my
Yeah.
stomach is full. So I was like, okay, why don't I focus on this? This that helps a lot of students back in school. Also, a lot of students, even in the university, like university days, that sometimes you don't have even 100 francs, to even buy, even if it's a cup of rice, but you can buy a glass of gari, you soak, you drink, and you sustain your stomach for that night. So
Mm.
all those things went through my mind. I was like, okay, I'm going in for cassava and I'm focusing on the value chain. So that's how we
Mm.
started our little cooperative, Nanagri Cameroon, which is cooperative of 15 women, made up of 15 rural women actually, into planting cassava and also processing. But we focus more on the processing.
Wow, that's really good. Wow. It's just phenomenal to hear how your story started and how you um it was circumstances that made you take that decision, and look at where it has
Yes.
also led you to. And it's very just impressive how you had thought about, okay, taking clues from your own experience, like, okay, while I was in school, this was something that was really useful to me, and I think there's already a market for it,
Yes.
rather than just trying to do something that you were not familiar with.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
really amazing. That's really amazing. So speaking of you now exploring the cassava value chain, um why do you think that the value chain within cassava is underutilized?
Very, very underutilized.
So let's talk about that.
Yes. If we look at Africa as a whole, first of all, Africa in general lacks industries. Like
Mm,
we have not really met our potential when it comes to industrialization. I think
yes.
we missed the first one, and it will not be fair if we're missing the second one. So
Mm,
first, the fact that that has been lacking, and second, the fact that cassava has been neglected a lot. Cassava
mm.
is a crop people think is for the poor. People just think it's for people that eat cassava.
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
bragging, my shoulders are not up, but I'm not poor, and I love cassava. So, so people, there's first of all this mentality in people's head. Then also looking at the fact that the government is going alongside with it. The government now, you see, they focus on rice, wheat,
Yeah.
maize, because they actually think that is modern and it's more profitable. Whereas
Mm,
rice is not in the culture of an African man. When we look at an
mm.
African man, we look at swallow. And when we look at swallow, we look at eba or fufu. So
Yeah.
tho- yes. So those are the two things that I think really they build Africa and is being neglected. A lot of people now, you see, they venture in rice crops, they venture in wheat crops, whereas those are foreign things. And
Mm,
my concern too is the fact that we have a lot of projects on wheat. Looking at the fact that
mm,
it's first of all not healthy, yes,
mm.
because when we're talking about cassava, we're talking about gluten-free products. So it's
Yes.
first of all very healthy. So looking at the fact that wheat is not even first of all too healthy for the human consumption, and people are investing in it, especially the government, is really a call for concern. And
Mm,
I think that it is high time that the government to see how they can encourage youth to go into the cultivation of cassava. They can encourage youth by also building incubators, incubator centers that train people on how to plant cassava, and above all, how to transform cassava, because
mm,
cassava is one crop that will say has a lot of derivatives. With cassava, you can do cassava flour, you can do your eba, gari, you can do tapioca, that's a food for children. You know,
yeah,
tapioca mixed with strawberry, mixed with popo, not like a cereal. It's actually
yeah,
a product like cereal for children 0 to 6 years. You can also do crackers, you know, you can
mm,
do starch, you can do a lot of things with just cassava. The chain is
mm,
enormous. And if we are given the opportunity to explore it, we see that there's a lot of riches when it comes to cassava. So I'll really say we really have to step up, especially to our fathers, which is the government sitting up there. They should really see how they can support the cassava value chain and bring it to where it's supposed to be the first place. Thank you.
mm. Thank you for sharing that. I like how you talk. This thing you talked about within the value chain. Growing up when I was in uni, there was a man that had come to my university to talk about innovation. His name is Samadapo. And I was saying that, youths, then I think I was my remembering me at year two or something. And I was saying that youths should start thinking about how we can sort of do things. Like, why are we so focused on what's it called? What's the name of this foreign Kellogg's cereal? Like, why don't we have cassava flakes? Why is it not fortified? Why does it not have flavor? It should be more tasty. People should like it more. So you just making mention of that reminded me of that conversation that he had, sort of just chimed into us back in the day. I know that you have like a brand that, sort of processes cassava. Can you touch a bit on about that for us?
Okay, Nana Greek. Actually,
Yes.
we process cassava. We focus on two main products of the cassava,
Yeah.
which is
Mm-hmm.
gari and
Mm.
fufu, because we want to add value. My main concern is the Gary. Even we want to add value to Gary. I have a lot of classmates now. You know, they are touching big money, and
Mm.
they are like, I cannot dream really Gary again. Looking at the way that it's exposed in the market with flies and everything. So I'm like, okay, so if we brand this thing well, you will still buy. They say yes, of course. So that is how the idea came in to start rebranding this Gary.
Mm.
Like we do the Gary first. We're using mechanized
Oh.
processing, like everything is
Mm.
done with machines.
Machine.
This also improves on the hygienic condition of the gari.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
because you know
yes, yes, yes,
traditionally those women,
yes.
mixing everything, and some people say I'm
Mhm.
not drinking gari or I'm not eating gari because when I drink my stomach will pain because of the way they are processing. So now there is no excuse because we're using machines for
Yeah.
from peeling of the cassava to frying of the gari. Everything is strictly machines, and the branding is wow. I mean, the first time that I went to pitch this business to the French embassy, because I know that a lot of Cameroonians abroad. So I was trying to see how I can, export the product out. So I usually go back to embassies to pitch. You know, even the Cameroonians that were at the embassy were amazed. Africans, even Kenya, I went to Kenya, I met a lot of Nigerians and presented the product to them. They were amazed, like, so Gary can be this branded. They even thought that it
Mm.
was one product from America. So you see, added value is very, very is very important. It's very, very important. So we add
Yeah.
value to the cassava, we package them, bring them to standard market, and satisfy the clientele, the customers.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like how, uh, uh, what you have done is quite innovative. I tell people all the time that sometimes when people think about innovation, they think about it as a grand idea. It has to just be something that has not been done before. Sometimes
Mm.
innovation is just making an improvement on something. Sometimes it's just taking out a feature and adding another feature and just seeing how you have now repackaged it. That people then see that like, okay, yeah, I think I want that. I think I want that compared to what it is being sold in the regular market. Wow. That's really beautiful.
Yeah,
And
like our latest innovation, the 3-in-1. Actually,
oh wow.
when back in school, when I used to drink my Gary, I'll add Ovaltine, I'll add some spice it up, coconut flavor,
Yeah.
and all those things. So the package for students, actually, the 3-in-1, you have all that in one packet.
Oh
So all you
wow.
do is just to add your water and your drink. That even if you're in a plane, you have your cup of Gary inside your bag. You just open, put your water. There's already sugar, there's granule, there's Ovaltine. You know, when that's an innovation that I'll say. When I presented that in the market, even me, I was like, this is crazy, but that's a top selling product. So just to back up what you said, innovation is not, one new thing. Just to add one small spice to the soup and you're gone. That's innovation. Yeah,
Yes. Wow, that's really good. And that would sell a lot in the student community.
a
A
lot.
lot
It's selling a
in the
lot.
student community. Oh my god. If it's in sachet, people are buying rolls and just, especially during exam period. Exam period has a very
Exactly.
miraculous thing that all
Yeah.
the food you have finishes at once in exam period. So you're just taking one sachet, you're good to go for night class.
Just put your water, you're good to go.
Oh my God. Wow. And just hearing you talk about this, it further buttresses the point that you don't have to be, like a very old person to leave your mark in life or create something that will be useful. Just seeing you, a young person, doing something, taking like a regular thing and then putting your own spice to it. That's that's beautiful. So my next question
Thank
to you at this time is, in speaking of innovations, right? What are like some of the most promising, innovations in cassava cultivations? Whether we're talking about it from a local standpoint or a modern climate practice, what are innovations do you see happening, or do you project happening within that ecosystem for cassava?
Okay. One of the most promising innovations I'm forecasting is the production of indomies, pastas and spaghetti. You know,
Are you
what there's this
serious?
group. Yes, there's this group in LinkedIn by Dr. Bello. He's a Nigerian. He's in the US. So it's a community of cassava, like cassava farmers and transformers, and he just presented to us one product that was last month, I think. One product called sorry, he just presented to us the Indomie package, and all of us are like with
From
cassava,
cassava.
and he had to send us some samples, and they were like, you cannot even know it's from cassava. So tasty. So those are the change that I'm seeing and forecasting that in the nearest future we'll start having pasta from cassava flour, indomie from cassava flour, and he was also trying to do steak balls. You know, steak balls. We all know that if it's not wheat flour, you will not go. But now with cassava flour, so cassava flour, in fact, cassava has a future and is yet to be explored, which I encourage us, especially investors, to see how they can invest in the cassava value chain. Really,
Mm, wow. This is good. So we are going past the era of just fufu and eba and gari for
just
cassava.
for food
Like
Bangare.
yeah, like those are
I'm
those
going
have
to
been the ancient.
pasta,
Yeah,
going
we're
to
moving. We're moving.
biscuits.
That's really good. Oh my god.
Even
Now
cassava
then
chips.
is that different from the I don't know what they call it in English, but there's something we call it here in Nigeria. Um it slaps, it's very dry. When you eat it, it's like it has this sour taste in your mouth, but it still tastes it feels like I can't remember the name now, but it's like a local thing you get from the local market. No, I don't think
Well, it's
I'm not seeing it in
have you
supermarkets
ate
here in
plantain chips? Like plantain
yeah.
chips, potato chips. It's just cassava chips. And it's very yummy too. Yeah.
Oh wow. Huh. Ah, wow. There's something here in Nigeria we call, I don't know what's called in English, but we call it bobozi. I don't even know what part of Nigeria it's from. So it's like cassava that is boiled and soaked. We call it bobozi. I don't know the English name. So it's like cassava that
Okay.
is soaked, is boiled, is soaked, is now soft. It feels like mashed potato, but it's very soft. You then
Mm-hmm.
eat it with
Yeah,
coconut.
yeah.
There's
Yes,
that.
I know.
Okay, you know that. Then
Yes.
there's this delicacy from Eastern Nigeria. I don't know the English name, so they call it abacha. So it's like
Okay.
that
Yes.
form of that cassava I just said. It's grated into, you see ah what's it called? This I've forgotten the name. So it's like this Chinese noodles, very slim and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's like grated into that kind of thing, and
Okay.
they add like a sauce to it that is made from potash and palm oil and stuff and pepper. Like it's not that sauce is not heated. It's made on the ground, onion, pepper, potash, palm oil mixed, and they slice like a vegetable on it. And you can then eat it with like peppered pomo or peppered smoked fish or spiced fish. So it's like an African, that's like the African delicacy. But just
No, I've
having to
eaten
also
abacha before.
oh you okay? So sorry, I didn't know that you guys
When
know
I was
Latin
in
America.
Lagos,
Explain.
I've eaten it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
delicious. Yeah.
okay. I have to explain it for our diverse audience that might be listening. Like,
No, but I
oh,
love how you were explaining.
what's bobozi? It's like, yeah, I don't know the English name. It's called bobozi here in Nigeria. And so that's
Okay.
like the snack version of it. And it's like a street food, right? It's not
Yeah.
like food that you find in like a supermart or a mini mart or anything. But I feel like with what you're saying, those things can be processed and packaged in a way that it can also be in the mini marts. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
then be just end up in not only as street foods, right?
Exactly.
It could be something
Exactly.
that we can then sort of maybe export as well, as much as we export chips and export those things as well, because it's also what we are makes us our own people in terms of like Africans,
Yes.
like oh our own
Yes.
kinds of food. I
That's
believe
our
that there are also,
identity.
yeah, I believe that also some kind of maybe street food that you guys make with cassava in Cameroon that I don't
Yes.
know about. Oh wow,
No,
they
but the
are.
only one I know is the one you call bobozi. Even here in Cameroon, I don't know how it is called, but my mom used to do that. So she would boil
Oh
cassava. Then when it's steamed a little bit, not really ready, she'll
yeah, yeah,
slice into small pieces, put inside water, and put in the
yeah.
fridge. We'll eat the next day, and it's very
Mhm.
delicious.
Yes,
So
if you
I
eat
don't
it
know
with
the name
coconut,
actually. I don't know the
eat
name
it with
actually, but
coconut, you're good.
yes.
And
Also, usually
this
eat
is
it with plum.
oh wow, we eat it here
Mm.
with coconut. Maybe
Okay.
and it's interesting that okay, I'll say this as we still talk about the value chain, right? I think that just like you were saying, I think there's also still much more exploration we can do from it because most of
Yes.
these things that we are still talking about now are things that were from our great grandfathers.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
even in
There's
our own time,
so
what would we say that we brought we millennials or Gen Zs we brought into life like as per our own innovation? We should be thinking of those kinds of things.
we brought pasta, we brought tapioca. So
No, 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 no,
yeah,
no, no, no,
yes.
no.
From cassava flour is a plus, and very healthy. It's a plus and very healthy. and it fills your stomach very fast. You can eat that and stay the whole day without eating. Then also the tapioca, which I think is a sector that still really needs, I'll say first, research, then exploitation. We get to buy a lot of baby food outside. We get to buy a lot of baby food outside. And these
Mm,
food are expensive. Some are not even healthy for these children. But if you are like, okay, I know that with cassava, I can do the tapioca for my baby, mix maybe with bananas, mix with strawberry, the flavor of your choice.
yeah.
And the child will still be healthy. Why don't I do it? I tried that. I tried to do that. I
Okay.
actually tried that. It's not in my line of business, so I never wanted to go deep into it. I just had a lot of holiday makers in the house. So like buying cereal, my mom will finish up. So I, you know, come up, decided to do something traditional, and they loved it. I mixed
Mm,
theirs with banana, with soya bean, then a lot of a little bit of milk, and
mm-hmm.
every day they were eating it, and I was
Oh,
amazed. I was like, this is something that, so if somebody can take upon his or herself to invest in that sector, like, okay, I'm doing but just baby food with cassava, then I range my flavors, put in the market, trust me, it's going to, let me use our word, it's going to blow. So
mm,
yeah, because the problem with Africa is ready, but the problem is that we lack the transformers. We lack
mm,
transformers. We grow crops, yes, but we don't have the units to transform. And that is a serious problem. That is why we keep exporting raw materials, we keep exporting them outside. When we plant, we're sending outside. They that have the machines, they transform and send back the goods to us, the finished products to us are very, very expensive prices. Whereas if
yeah.
we had those companies back home, we do the transformation ourselves, Africa has a market. All we really need is to engage in those transformation units. That's
Wow.
all I can say. I'm saying this with a very heavy heart because when I even think of it, it gets me so saddened. The fact that we are really into agriculture. We are into agriculture. That one is not a joke. If we look at statistics, we are planting. We're planting a lot
Yes.
of things, but we keep sending them out because we don't have the means to transform them, and we don't want them to decay. So
Yeah.
we're stopped. We're stopped.
Mm. Just hearing you talk about this tapioca thing, right? And then talking about how it can be transformed into baby food. I've never heard of that.
You can
I've
Google.
never.
In Brazil, that is their main, that is what they do. Brazil is one of the top countries into cassava cultivation.
Yeah, yes,
And
they
their
are.
main,
Yes.
yes, and their main product is the tapioca. It's a baby's food. The name itself is tapioca. Yeah, so it's a baby food from Brazil, and it's exported everywhere. So why can't Africa do it?
Wow. When we think about baby food, the first thing that comes to mind, I'll speak of like from Nigeria, is we are conversant with corn, whether guinea
Mm,
corn, regular corn, the white corn, the yellow corn. We are conversant with what's this other thing called as well? The soya thing, as part the
yeah.
milk, the bean turned into the milk, and just hearing you talk about this, it brings back like memories to me. Uh, because in Nigeria we do NYSC after your uni, like when you serve the
Okay.
government for the year and stuff. And so uh that at that time of the year I was sent to the north in Nigeria, somewhere called Plateau State. That's like the coldest region in Nigeria. Cold, it has
Okay.
like this Canadian weather. It can be, let's
Hey.
say, yeah, it's the only part of Nigeria where strawberry is grown in
Wow.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yes, the Nigerian strawberry is grown. And so they had something that they locally call it Tom Brown. I don't know that English name. And it is made from millet, They add a bit of soil, they add a bit of guinea corn, they add a bit of something they call acha, tamba. They just have like a local name for it. And so
Mm-hmm.
when it's like pap, do you know pap? Like regular pap.
Yes.
So, but
Yes.
it comes in powdered form. It's not the
Okay.
because here in Nigeria we have pap in powder and the one that you soak in the water, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
scoop out of bowls. So it
Yes.
comes in powder, and so you have to still mix it the way you would mix your custard, right? The cornstarch,
Mm-hmm.
you just and when you make it, it has this already. They add granules to it, so it has this already brown look, and the aroma from it is so delish. Like the aroma. Then when you take that thing in the morning, you would not eat. It feels like you have eaten beans. You will not eat till evening. And all the babies that they fed with that thing, they look like this. You know those kinds of baby where you say ah, and they stretch their hands to you. You carry them for 20 seconds. You give them back to their mother because the baby is so weighty. That's how. And so I was just thinking, like, if we take this thing, this is like an industry here. This whole Tom Brown thing. If we take this, we will not necessarily need SMA gold again. Our babies will not need NAN. They
We'll
will
not need
not need
cereal.
Cerelac.
We'll not need Nestle again.
No.
It is well.
So that came to mind because of what you said. Like
Yes,
it came to mind
exactly.
because of what you said. And these
And you
are
see,
like
it's more
children that are
healthy.
very
And
soft. Yeah.
you see that what you just said is more healthy and from organic products. That is
Yes.
products that you know where they are being cultivated and you know how it's being cultivated.
Yeah.
You're taking cereals, you don't even know. Ah, it is well. It is well.
Okay.
It is well.
So, but I think for the fact that this is my own thing to you. For the fact that you said you tried it out and you liked the outcome, don't you think you want to consider in like maybe 2026 add it to your own value chain? I'm just saying because you tried it. So it's not like you're not speaking from theoretical. You're speaking from experience. You're not just speaking from I read it in Google. No, you tried it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. I think it's something you want to consider. It can also be part of your
Yeah.
bestsellers. Who knows?
No, I'm a business person, and as a business person, you have to focus. So my
Mm.
focus is Gary and Fufu. Anybody that wants to do that, you can train the person and but on the person
Okay.
there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. Yeah. Also, we're
Fantastic. I
trying to
like.
build a brand with the Gary. So we have a lot of work in that aspect.
Mm. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So, my next question to you is, um, how can agronomists and let's say agricultural technicians, better support smallholder farmers into integrating like more resilient techniques as they farm their cassava?
Okay. That's what I do. That's what we do in our cooperative. So
Yeah.
apart from transforming cassava, we train young cassava farmers on modern techniques on how to plant cassava, to minimize, I'll say minimize production costs. A lot of
Mm,
people, they never knew that you could actually propagate cassava, like multiply
mm.
cassava into seedlings. They used to go and buy seedlings. So we try as much as possible to teach them that okay, with this one stem, you can generate even 50 stems from just this one stem. So it saves you money. Yeah, it saves you money for buying of stems and other seedlings. Then also we try as much as possible to teach them other techniques that will enable them not to be using fertilizers, like mulching. When you
Mm, mm,
mulch your cassava, it creates this atmosphere of moist that is always there for the cassava. And
yeah.
once it's there, that's all. Cassava is a survival crop. Hey, it's one of the most survival crops
Yes.
I know. Yes. It's one of the strongest crop ever. So we just have small, cold atmosphere under it from the mulching. We'll just stay there and it's growing, blossoming. That is
Mm,
also a plus. And we
yeah.
also try in as much as possible to teach them on mixed cropping. Cassava
Mm.
is a heavy eater. It
Yes,
eats
it
too
is.
much, and that I'll say it reduces the soil's fertility. So
Yes.
sometimes if you have overused that soil for cassava, the next time that you're planting the cassava, you mix with a crop that nourishes the ground, like maybe
Yeah.
maize or groundnut.
Yeah.
Yes. So those two crops, they nourish the ground. So you mix, we try to teach them that. And we take them to our demo farms because we have demo farms which we use just for practicals. We do
Mm.
practicals and we try to integrate also technology. So when you were
Mm.
asking me that why did you leave technology? You left technology, went to agriculture. I was laughing because tech in agriculture is the new dawn, like
Mm.
drones
Yeah.
to help you water your farm, drones to help you monitor your farm. Imagine if you have a large farm, it's not all the time that you'll be going there, but with just a drone system activated in the farm, with your phone, you can see your farm, your entire farm, and you can know what's happening. You can know when to intervene. If maybe it's a disease that is coming, you will know. Maybe it's
Yeah.
climate change alert. Okay, we'll start telling you that, okay, climate's about to change. Let's see how we can adapt another. So tech is the new goal in agriculture. So we're teaching
Mm.
them all that. And also we reach out to them through phones. If you have a worry, you call us, we give you the advice and we also visit their farms, for monitoring and evaluation. So that is how agri technicians like us, like me, can help smallholder farmers. Thank you.
Mm. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's really good. Uh, In fact, I think 2 episodes back, I had brought on the founder of Agri Exchange. It's
Okay.
a geoinformation system. That's a GIS systems in Nigeria. They sort of do like precision farming with this whole drone
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you are able to like get satellite imageries of your farm, and you could be somewhere else and just be capturing like certain. So instead of doing that normal monitoring where you have to like go check the leaves and all that, with the drone system, like you said, it could be somewhere and the drone is moving around, taking like exact pictures and then showing you. And he was
Yeah.
talking about that it's so computerized that it can even tell you sort of spot out like what's wrong with that plant.
Yeah,
If it's
exactly.
like a blight, like the disease condition, it can then
Yes,
indicate it and
it
then
really,
know
yes.
what.
It's a system I'm actually trying to develop now. That is my background, my background mission now, like to try to really see how I can integrate that, for a system to tell you, okay, this is blight, it's blight that has affected, no, it's dryness, because sometimes we confuse the two. Yes, if you're not really keen, you think that you see dryness and think that it's a disease and go and start spraying for nothing. You're wasting
Yeah,
money and you're also spoiling the crops
yeah.
potential. So that precision farming is something I think we people have to start adapting into their farms. They have
Fantastic,
to.
fantastic. Even speaking of precision farming, the founder of Era Precision in Nigeria, Mr. Femi Adekoya, he was also on as well. Still talked about because he was the first person to make me know that you could sort of apply fertilizers and or even herbicides on your farm aerially, not
Yes,
necessarily. So what would take an individual like a whole day to do with the drone,
the
you could do
drone
that
can
in
do 1 hour. Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
what? This is
See, labor has
amazing.
reduced and time also has reduced. So,
Yes. 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 Ah, wow. That's really interesting. And when we talked a bit earlier on about like the value chains within cassava, and you were talking about like one of the things that's really needed within the space is also like more like investments, right? And
yes.
now, so my next question to you is, what do you think are like some of like the policy incentives or public right now to sort of scale cassava? Okay, we're back. Okay, so we went out a bit, but we're back now. My question is, what are like some of the public incentives or policy incentives, public investments that you think are most urgent for scaling cassava production in a sustainable way in rural areas?
Okay. If I understood your question very well, let me try and paraphrase. Like, what are the things that maybe the government can do to? Okay.
Policy,
Yeah.
investments, and things.
Okay. First, I think the government should see how they can include cassava in the export and import plan, because it's not.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
they export a lot of things, but cassava is not there. When I even go through the export trade map, I don't even see, when I go to products, I don't see cassava. So if the government can really see how to include that in the trade map, the export trade map, it'll be very good, so that we can freely, export our cassava products, gari and everything, without a lot of constraint and a lot of paperwork. Because I go through a lot of constraints when I want to export gari, because it's not in among those products that needs to be exported. The secondly, if they can see how they can invest in building incubators in
Mm.
communities where they can train people on how to plant cassava, and above all, how to transform into other derivatives, it will be really, really a plus. It will be really a
Mm.
plus, because I think one thing too that is really making a lot of farmers to really go through that chain is the lack of skills. So if they have that skill, I think they'll really go in. We have a lot of incubators that train people on how to grow rice, maize. So we can have one for cassava. Then also, if
Mm.
they can also create machinery incubators, like an incubator where we have machines for transformation, like a
Mm.
community, each person, maybe if they want to transform, they just come and pay a small fee and do their transformation. Because to get a whole chain for cassava transformation, it's not small money. Our own, we
Mm.
bought the medium size at $100, 100
Mm.
$100,000, sorry. So
Wow,
that was approximately
that's a lot.
600 million. Yes, it's a lot of money. A whole
Yeah.
chain, from peeling to everything, and we got it from China. So if the government can, like, okay, in this community we'll create a machinery incubator where we'll buy the machines, put them in this place, then anybody that wants to do maybe like a prototype or something comes and try there. If it goes, the person has access to come and be, for the meantime, before the person wants to buy his or her own, it will be amazing. Secondly, if they
Yeah.
can see how they can subsidize the price for cassava cuttings,
Mm.
it will really be amazing, because when we are trying to buy improved cassava cuttings, the price is I mean, for cassava is just too much. You come and buy, you want to buy one improved cassava cuttings for $1, eh?
Mm.
For cassava
Mm.
cutting. So if they can see how they can subsidize that price, or better still, see how they can create centers that can help to regenerate those cuttings. Like what we do,
Mm.
we try to regenerate those seedlings, but it's from our own local cuttings. So if we get
Yeah.
improved ones, and we have a center that is okay, this one is just to multiply cassava seedlings. Do research
More
on
like
how to multiply.
research institute for that.
Y- Yes, but not really like an institute, like an incubator program. I don't know how I can even explain this, but like
No,
an
my question
incubator program. Yes. So it
they're
will
just
really
solely focused on cassava.
yes, yes, for the community is going to be a plus. So if the if stakeholders can focus on these three things, like subsidizing the price, or better creating an incubator center for seedlings, then an incubator center to train people on how to grow the cassava, and also an incubator center for machines where we have common machines, will really be a plus for the cassava chain. Really be a plus.
Wow. Hmm. And I think that I also think that as much as we have said government, right? But I also think that this is also a place where um, public private partnership can sort of come in, or even investors. Because if they also create it, it's also a platform and avenue for them to make money as well. Like, so
Definitely.
investors, yeah, stakeholders, investors that are listening on this call, see, she has given you
You know, we
like
always
three
cry to
gems
the
on where.
government because they are father, they are mother, they are everything for the nation. So we
It's
first
the
of all
truth
always
is,
appeal to them first before we go to our
the
angel
truth is,
investors out there, which I'll
no,
still tell them they should
I think
really invest on cassava.
in recent times now, I'm beginning to think of the government as, that polygamous man that has like 500 wives, and each
No,
of
but
the wives.
the government is trying. Oh, the government is trying, sha.
I think of them now. When you think of the government now, I think of them as that polygamous man that has like 500 wives, and within that 500 wives, they have like each of the wives have like let's say 20 children. So you can
Oh,
imagine
the
exactly. So you
workload.
can imagine what he has to deal with,
No,
and
but
that
they are
point in
up to the tax. They are up to the tax.
the truth
You know,
is,
I'm a Christian and my Bible tells me God cannot give you something you can't handle. So if you're sitting in that post, it means you can handle it. So they are
no,
up to
no,
the tax.
so it's not. So what I'm saying is, it's not that the individuals there don't have the capacity, right? It's
Mhm.
not a problem of capacity. It's now a thing of the resources that is available. In
Okay.
secondary school, they tell us that human, how does it put this? It's like, oh, human wants are insatiable in economics, right? So
Exactly.
you don't have to do like maybe like a scale of preference or
It's very
opportunity cost.
different.
You understand? Even when we're having this conversation, at some point you said that there's a lot of emphasis on rice, on wheat, and they're not looking at cassava. So they're investing their money in those areas because they feel like, okay, from what the stats are saying, this looks more profitable and all that, right? And so coming back to this conversation now is they might not be not like they won't do it, but everything can be done by the government. Do you understand? That's
No,
why you see that in so many what's the word, in so many advanced countries, people get they get like business owners, there's a way they call it, whether tax rebates for creating opportunities.
mhm.
Like as a business owner now, the way they tax you is sort of different in some
Yeah.
advanced countries compared to like if you're working, because they also know that you're taking off a burden from the government
Yeah.
by creating
Exactly.
that market for employment, right?
Mhm.
So these are like it's like an investment thing. It's like the day that I had an expert come talk to me about post harvest losses, Continental, Mr. Continental. And he was telling me that, oh, they're like special vans for distribution and logistics within agriculture. I
Mhm.
didn't know that. He was like, oh, the vans are like cold room vans, but they're not cold room vans. They're like ice vans. The temperatures are like regulated so that the produce are like, because um in Nigeria here, sometimes distribution is also an issue. Like you're carrying product from one state in Nigeria to
Everywhere
another.
in Africa.
So so you can carry, let's say, potato from Plateau before it gets to like Lagos is bad. And not necessarily because the product was bad when it left the market. Maybe heat,
Mhm.
lots of things. So a lot of chemical reaction happens. Not like everything is going to go bad, but a huge chunk of it. But he was not saying that, oh, there is a specialized truck, a haulage truck that you could use for transporting, that nothing happens to the produce. You just put at the temperature that is meant for that produce. And I was saying that, oh, that's also an investment thing. Because when people are thinking about agriculture, sometimes, you only think about poultry, fishery, piggery, like, the visible ones that
That's
are
that's
all.
actually a great innovation. Actually, that's wow. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm saying that's also a place where investors can come in. The same way people invest in like logistics, like delivery service, or you buy something from here, you can't go to the vendor to pick it. A logistic rider, a rider takes the product from the vendor and sends to you. We could have that, and that's like an investment that you don't know anything about agriculture. It's like the transportation, which is also a value chain
Mm-hmm.
within
That's
agriculture. It's like saying the person, when you your own cassava that you process in your factory, you have to take it from the farm.
Exactly.
So it's the truck that takes it from your farm to your factory.
Yes.
Exactly. So
So
I was like, oh wow, that's really good. So why am I saying all this? It's like what you have said, like that incubator, that space where you talked about having like a specialized machine where people could possibly pay to just use that
yeah.
infrastructure because they don't have the opportunity to buy their own, but they have an access fee. That's also
Yeah.
an investment that
Yes.
someone can
Yes.
look and say, you know. So I'm saying all this, like it's not like I'm saying the government cannot do it, but
No,
there's some
I
people that
get you. Yeah, I get you.
have money that is in the bank is not doing anything. It can be
Mhm.
used.
That is
It
true.
can be used
Mhm.
for that as well. And you
Yes,
know,
even an
if you look
individual can build that.
exactly, it can be used as well because in Nigeria here sometimes the way that farmers try to solve their own problems is solve the problems or challenges that they have is to have cooperatives, and having that cooperatives, having diverse people come together. So what would have a person would have spent, let's say 20 million naira to like only them just do. Someone can then say, okay, because we're like 100 in this cooperatives, we pay this amount of money, we come together, we buy that thing that we need, and everybody then have access to it.
Access to
But
it.
yeah, this is not to say that the government should not come and do what they should do. But I'm just saying before the government will come, it might take too long. You remember my illustration of a man that has 500 wives. It might take too
No,
long.
that is true. Actually, that is really true. Yeah, that is true. But if we can have investors that could take that upon themselves to build those centers, it will really be wonderful. Because apart from the fact that it's going to help the community, it's also a business, and
Of course,
and it's going to be a very sustainable one. Yeah,
it's not a
yeah,
charity thing. It's not
yes,
charity. You pay to
yes.
use
It's
it.
not charity. Yeah.
You
And
pay
it's
to
going to
use
be
it.
sustainable. Imagine if you have a center like that and like, okay, to get access to maybe your oven, for example, your oven, somebody has to pay maybe $5 for, let me just say $1 for an hour. So,
Mm,
and just imagine the number of farmers that are always out to see how they can dry their products. So you will not even
mm,
satisfy the demand for that area if you have just
mm,
one oven. Then
mm,
now you go to a grinding mill, an industrial grinding mill. You're saying that okay, to grind maybe 1 kilogram, you need maybe $1. I'm just calling figures, okay? You need just $1. So imagine if you have 10,000 farmers, like they want to grind their corn. So
mm.
it's really it's an investment. I think people have to think about that for investment. Yeah.
The interesting thing is every single episode on this podcast, I just begin. It's as if the you guys that are the guests, you're educating me. I just begin to see so many things that I don't even think
So
about. Like,
many
oh my
business areas.
goodness, oh my god, this is here too. Oh, so we can do this. But another thing is, I also think, okay, I think that this is the part where I would then have to play that. It's like I think that sometimes a lot of the investors, but most investors are not aware of these investment opportunities because they are not mainstream conversations.
Okay.
Conversations that are mainstream is hydroponics,
Okay. Okay.
soilless farming,
Mm-hmm.
greenhouse farming, poultry farming, piggery farming,
Mm-hmm.
fishery farming. You just farming. Those are like conversations
Mm-hmm.
that are very mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
That you hear a lot. Like if you before you visit, like let's say an agricultural platform and just be there for 5 minutes, you would have seen something about tomatoes, about pepper,
Mm-hmm.
vegetable, about you understand, about
Chicken,
fish,
pig,
about turkey,
fish,
about chicken,
exactly.
but all these other parts. And so I think that's where we need to sort of amplify that as well. We need to sort of amplify that.
Exactly. We really
We need
need
to
to.
do that as well. And I also think that another thing is there was a clip I had seen on, I think it was Instagram. The guy talked about what's the essence of education, which is actually don't just go to school because you want to go to school. Go to school because you want to solve a problem. Even with
Exactly.
this thing about machineries that you're talking about, just hearing you that your machine, your whole full end-to-end production costs you like $100,000. People that are Africans that are studying mechanical engineering, what are we doing with it?
Question. That one I will not answer.
Solutions of fix cars, because
That
it's just of fix
that is also one sector, you know, construction of that's why when I even said those machines, then I put in quotes, got them from China. You saw how I said it with a heavy heart because it is well with that area. It is really well. It's
yes,
really
because
well.
even if you were to build those your machines, right?
It's not
It
be as
might not.
costly as that
No, it can't.
because it's
It
actually
can't.
costing because of the import rates.
Yes, to
Yeah,
import it.
yes. So as you import, you have to pay at the seaport. Those charges are heavy. It's like twice the money that you're buying machines. So in fact, I think that's also a sector youths have to really look into the construction of machines for agricultural purposes. Yeah, they
Back in
should
the
really,
day,
really look into.
there used to be a department within the Faculty of Agri called agricultural engineering. I don't know if it still exists
It's
in
still there.
Nigeria.
Yeah, in Cameroon, we have that department. We have it.
Oh wow.
Yes,
Eh.
they
Wow.
have it.
Okay.
They are
Okay.
trying. Actually, they are trying.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. There's a guy in Nigeria that I interviewed, I think, 2 months ago. His name is Femi Jacobs. He's the founder of Coconuto. He invented the first dehusking and deshelling coconut machine.
Wow.
So
Wow.
his machine can peel that outer part of coconut.
Mhm.
Machine can take out the coconut out of that shell.
Wow.
And his
Wow.
machine can then grind that husk part and the shell that they use for greenhouse farming.
Wow. That's
Yeah, as a Nigerian,
innovative.
yeah, as a Nigerian guy. So he studied mechanical engineering in
Okay.
one of the schools in Nigeria in the
That
western.
should be a wake up call to all our mechanical engineers in quotes. Yeah.
And
It is
he was,
time they step up their game. They should really step up their game.
and this goes back to um, how you even started out the conversation when you said you went back to school and you finished and you said, "Do I want to go get a job or do I want to start a business?" So sometimes I think about it that sometimes we are so fixated outside that we don't try to look within.
That's true.
Because for him, he didn't do agriculture, but he just said he just wanted to do that thing was his final year project. He said he
Wow.
just wanted to do something that would be useful. So he was not even out of school when he developed that.
Wow. Wow.
And now that's like a full-time business for him.
See? He
So
said the only way to be rich is to solve a problem.
yes, that's just it. And I was like, oh my
Wow.
God. And so even as we have this conversation, to the African youth listening to us, we are pleading. There's so much that can be done within the agricultural sector. And I feel
So
like we sort of need each other in terms of like our competencies and expertise.
yes, that is
Yeah.
true.
In terms of our competencies and expertise, even with the whole IT thing we're talking about, the man I said, that runs the agro exchange company, the GIS thing, he didn't even study agriculture. He studied geography and geoinformatics.
Oh.
He studied agriculture. It's like, surveyor, those guys that measure
Mm-hmm.
land. That's what he
Mm-hmm.
studied. But
Wow.
yeah, but he then did the advanced farm where, okay, instead of just capturing normal lands, where do I apply this to? And that's how.
Wow. That is good.
So there are so many applications, but before we went on that tangent, please, dear stakeholder, policymaker, investor that listens to us on this, from what Lady Nancy has said, there's a lot of investment that can be done within that space. Just creation, either the creation of the hub or the accessibility to machineries.
Yes.
Not just as a not for profits, no, for profit actually.
For profit, actually. It's not for non-profit, for profit.
The profit actually, it can be run as a business because it's just
Yes.
it's a need it's a viable need that can be met. And just hear
Mm.
you talk about the numbers. Back in the day here in Nigeria, like I feel like every African that is like very traditional, there's no way you would have experienced your grandparents without experiencing agriculture. I
Exactly.
remember like some of these holidays where I'll go stay with my grandma, and every grandma or grandpa used to have a farm. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely have it's whether it's they were planting tubers or we're harvesting tubers, coconut, cocoyam or yam or cassava. I remember that we used to like go to the grinding mill, and the grinding mill used to be far. And when we go
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of people just wait.
Line.
Yes,
A
just
long queue.
just waiting for
You
their
have to
turn.
wait.
And even the way the machine is run is also still very treacherous. It's a machine, but you still have to like put it, press it, take it out, then turn it back.
But you see, now we have modern machines. All you do is just to press a button and everything is okay. So
Wow.
we have to invest in machines. We have to
Mm,
invest in transformation sectors. We have
yeah,
to. We have
yeah.
planted enough, even though it's not enough. But let's now start exploring the transformation sector.
Yeah, I was talking to okay, Mr. Johnson. He's the founder of Go Deeper, and so he was saying to me that one of the challenges you see within Africa is not just that we are not producing, is that we are not processing what we are producing.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're not processing enough. He was just saying
Yeah.
like, in Africa, what stops us from even the way God has so blessed us is like even from one plant, you can have so many things. I can
So
imagine somebody will
many.
come one day and tell us there's cassava tea now. That is it just
The one thing I like the cassava, one thing that made me to really go into the cassava value chain is everything is useful with cassava.
oh, so you,
Everything is useful. From the
you can use
leaf, everything is useful.
how
From
do you
the
use it?
leaves as a vegetable. Here in Cameroon, we have a traditional meal that we call sanga. Like
Tell me about
you use just the cassava leaves to prepare that.
oh
Then also
wow.
you can use it for traditional medicine, like if you're shortage with blood, you just squeeze the leaf, add a little bit of milk, and you're ready to go. Like no need to be rushing to the hospital for supplements or tablets. That leaf will save you. Then the stems you re-multiply to plant. Even when we do the cassava, while doing the transformation, we don't throw the peelings. We use them as manure. We use them as manure. We send it
No,
back
for
to
the
the
feed, I know that
farm.
one for
Yes,
animal feed. I know that in animal feed.
yes. Yeah, for animal feed, we
Wow.
tried that, but it was not sustainable, so we still have to work on that. But the main thing is manure. We try to do organic compost with it.
Okay,
Like
compost, yeah.
yes, you do organic compost with it before you use. So you don't just go and throw in the farm like that. No, because it takes time to decay. Cassava
Yeah.
peelings take time to decay. So you have to go through compost process and you use back to the farm. You put your mulching, you put the compost. Cassava is amazing. How I really wish people could explore cassava.
Oh my god. I didn't even know that you could drink cassava for blood. For in Nigeria, we do like pumpkin, ugu. We
Cassava
take
leaf is
pumpkin.
the best booster.
Oh
The
wow. I
best.
just said cassava tea. I did not know because you can use any leaf for green tea now. Just bag it. It's just I didn't know. I just said cassava tea. So
The day I hear
maybe
about cassava tea, I'll be like, okay, this is getting hotter.
it's
But
possible.
actually, the leaves for blood is 100%. Trust me, it's 100%.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so now let's also talk. Let's now talk a bit about business, right? I know that you've already shared with us what inspired you to start your journey, and where you guys are at, in your business. For any young person listening to us today, how can that young person or that agropreneur just starting out sort of create a sustainable business from cassava, even though they have like limited resources?
Okay. Us or me, I started with limited resources. What I have
Mm,
today is a result of 5 years of work. When
mm,
I started small, you know. We did not start with processing. We started with buying and rebranding. That is how we started. You know, went to communities where you have local women that fry gari. We just bought the
mm.
entire community. Like, if you fry this gari, don't sell it to another person. Only us. And we buy, we rebrand and
Repackage.
sell. So that is how
Mm,
we started. So you can start as somebody that is just repackaging. You can start from
mm,
there. When you save enough money, you start your own small processing chain. Or when you have met investors like us, we're opportune. Actually, when I'm talking about $100,000, it's not that money, yo. It's not that money. We had the privilege to be funded by the French embassy
mm,
and the UN. So those are
mm,
our two, I'll say our two Odogu funders. So they are
mm,
the ones that had to combine their efforts to get us that chain. And that is because they saw the sustainability in our project. So
mm,
first, you should ask yourself, is this project or business sustainable? That's the first question. Is it going to impact our community, or is it just for my selfish greed? Because there are some people
mm.
that they just want to, and when you open a business like that with selfishness, it will die. That's why you see a
Yeah.
lot of startups, they don't make 3 years. A lot of
Mm,
startups, they don't make up to 3 years. When you want to come back for evaluation, and the business died because. But if you're solving a problem, like if you're meeting a need, if you're impacting your community, trust me, the right funders will definitely come to you. And the right chain, like the right chain for processing, for everything, it will just be opening. You yourself, you will just see. I don't know how I can even explain this matter again, because even as we were doing the branding, the markets were just opening. Like somebody will buy, tell another person, and people are even the one calling us. Like, something that you go and be looking for market is market that is looking for you. So that is just it. If you hit that target of, okay, this product, these people need it, my community need it, and it's healthy, very important. It should be healthy.
mm,
It's
mm,
healthy. Okay, I go into it. You start with the little that you have, and in no time you see yourself, owning units and distributing around the world. Yeah.
fantastic. I like how you said the first thing start with a good intention, an intention to like solve a problem,
Yes.
and also think about sustainability and profitability because that's what will make you
Yes.
stay long in the game. You
Yes.
know, so, and just start from where I like how you use your own experience to say I started from where I am. I wasn't growing the cassava. I was going to, buy from others and then sort of rebrand. I like how you made it seem as we always have what it takes to start out from where we are
We
and
always.
then make improvements as we go.
Yes.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. So my very final and last question to you at this time is, um, for every young Cameroonian or young Nigerian or young African, regardless of wherever they are in the world, that would that is on this call right now or would watch this replay some other time. Well, and they are thinking sort of dilly dallying if agriculture is like a good fit, if it's like if it has enough steez or swag for them, or if it's like a profitable sector to go into. And so they're just on the fence. What would be your admonition to such a person?
First, agriculture has the steez, So as we're growing up, people are like, agriculture means your life has ended. Then,
Suffering. Continue.
yeah, you're suffering. Huh. When I started doing my internship, that is when I realized that the odogus that we call today are agricultural, people that invested in agriculture.
Yeah.
There's even, agriculture is something that, whether there's war, whether there's no war, Abi, you don't eat.
I
You eat.
have. Oh, yes.
Even if you're sick, you're forced to eat before you take your drugs. Rain
Yeah.
is falling outside, you cannot go outside. You still have to eat. So
Yeah.
food is is a necessity. In fact, we cannot do without food. And
Yeah.
something that we cannot do without definitely is profitable, because you
Yeah.
always have customers. So
Yes.
agriculture is a field. It's just that we have not really exploited that field enough. And that is because of our mentality. In Africa, we have this mentality, and when you're growing up, your parents want to, if you're not engineer, you're a doctor, if you're not, just call farmer. Ha, mama. Even when I went back to school and I'm like, okay, my mother was like, so you want to go and be planting cassava? So then now everywhere, that's my daughter, that's my daughter. So you see, this life, agriculture is very, very important. Agriculture is very important, and I encourage us, even if you want to do it as a side job, because it's something that has enough time. I'm a
Mm.
consultant, but I can run
Yeah.
my company, because
Yeah.
I have time. you know Even if it's okay, I can do it as a side job, do it. Because actually, the population is increasing, and very soon food will become very, very scarce. Very
Yeah.
soon, food will become very, very scarce. Okay, like now. Before, when I was growing up, we eat food and throw. Now you cannot try it. You cannot even try it. So imagine maybe 22nd century or 23rd century. We're in the 21st century now, we are eating maybe 2 square meals a day. Or, imagine our nearest future. If we
Yeah.
don't invest, food will be scarce. Our children will not be able to eat the way we have eaten. So we really, I encourage all of us, even if it's a small piece of land, just start your small thing. Even if it's for your family, just start your small thing. Eat good food also, because something that you produce with, like yourself, you will not put all those chemicals. You eat something organic because it's for yourself. So
Mm.
I encourage every one of us, even if it's a small farm, just start something alongside. As you're taking care of it, if the passion grows and you're like, okay, I can do this in large scale, you start your large scale and your business has started.
Mm. Wow. So from what you're saying now is, if they don't have the desire, they should think about the growing teeming population of the continent. You
Exactly.
And also, if you're not thinking about the continent, think about yourself. Like, okay, you have the opportunity to be able to grow what you want to eat, and
Mhm.
you're sure that it's 100% organic,
It's
it's free
organic.
of, toxic chemicals and things.
Yes.
Wow.
Now we
Thank
can
you.
do a lot of backyard farming, like how I was teaching some
Yeah.
women. Yes. I was teaching some women in Douala, that's a city in Cameroon, on how to plant spices, leeks, turmeric, ginger behind their house, just small, small sustainable. At least you're sure of what you're eating. You're sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Even
Mm.
like nowadays, a lot of people are doing tea, slim tea, health combo teas using turmeric. If you have your turmeric behind your house, some people will even do it and say it's not working. It's because of the way they're planting it. But if you're your own
Yeah.
behind your house, this one is organic. This one will give all the nutrients they're supposed to give. Ah, agriculture is
Mm.
important. It is
Wow.
important.
Wow.
Mm.
I like how very practical and realistic that the answers that you provided for us today are, and you sort of brought it home with all the examples that you gave. And I like the final advice that you gave, like, okay, if you can't even go large scale, somewhere at the back of your house, and the last guest I had on came to talk about backyard farming. He talked about how
Mhm.
you can grow things in plastics, in
Yeah.
sack bags,
Mm.
and stuff, and just grow something within. Because now in most spaces in Nigeria, especially if you live in the urban areas, they are no longer stands. most houses are
Mm-hmm.
tiled. Like the floor outside, not inside, like outside where your cars
Yeah.
are parked. Yeah, cars are parked, like everything is tiled. And so you can farm in like plastics. You're saying like you farm in plastic, farm in bags, and just growing a little things. I remember back in the day, still grandma too. Oh, you know when you wash tomato and you want to blend it, sometimes those seeds that come out when you just throw it
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, they start sprouting.
It starts
With
sprouting.
pepper, they start sprouting. So you want to just do small things. Say, go and pluck some pepper for me. Go and pluck some scent leaf for me. Let's put it in this
Mm-hmm.
rice. You
No
know,
law.
but I think that man, times have changed.
Times
Times
have
have
changed. Times have changed.
times have changed. I think
Times have changed.
now typically the average African we associate that to like, oh, like you're living like a low standard of life to want to do that. Like, why should you do that? But I tell people
Mm-hmm.
gardening, okay,
Instead, now people are more concerned about their health. The
mm,
city I told you that I went to go and teach this
yeah,
organic backyard farming.
yeah,
We have just boss. It's a city where it's just like which city
yeah,
in Lagos in Nigeria, Abuja, something like
yeah,
that. Where you have those big guns.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah. So a lot of people are now concerned about their health. A lot
mm,
of people are skeptical about now what they eat. They want to learn. They want to
yeah,
learn. Yes. And that is what pushed me to actually open a small center in the cooperative where we teach people on how to plant and also help to educate farmers. So it's no more you're poor. No, 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 no. That mentality has been erased, and that I'm sure of.
fantastic, fantastic. It's good to just know, but the average person still thinks of it like, "Oh, no, no, I don't want to stress myself." But thinking about it from, you're serious. Thinking about it from this health perspective, there's a
Hmm.
new drive for like fit farm. What you should
Hmm.
eat and that kind of thing. So yeah, so people would then definitely embrace it more compared to like before. For me, I
Yes.
think of it as a self care activity. Like it's an activity that helps you sort of soothe yourself, like calm yourself down when you're
Mhm.
gardening. It's like an activity that it helps you be relaxed, and that's how I
Yeah,
think of
that
it.
one
The
too is
gardening thing,
true.
I think of it as like a relaxation thing. Like, okay,
Yes.
you're calming down, you're you have your gloves, you're tilling the soil a bit by bit, putting the seed, checking it. It's like something. It's like you're nurturing something. It
I
has a way
used to
of
say farming
calming
is
down.
another form of yoga, actually. Yoga.
Oh,
So it's just like it's farming is actually like that. When you're farming, you're
oh wow,
relaxed and you have this self
yes.
accomplishment. Imagine you plant tomatoes and you want to come big fruits. Hi. Even you that planted, you don't want to eat them. So you first of all have this inner excitement and self peace.
Yeah,
Farming is good.
yeah.
Gardening is very important. Yes, farming is good. Yes.
Wow, wow,
Usually,
wow.
create a relationship with your plant, talk to your
Mm,
plants.
yeah, this thing you said,
Mhm.
the very first time I had someone that Seni has a greenhouse in Nigeria, and he
Mhm.
talked about the fact that even they majorly grow like a lot of habanero peppers, like bell peppers and stuff, and
Mhm.
tomato. And
Mhm.
so he says that your plant responds to your energy.
Exactly.
Like if a person is not feeling so great, that the plan that they worked on will not come out well. I was like,
Yes.
what kind of
Mm.
talk is that? It's like no, like you have to be happy. You have to like
That's
they
true.
you're happy when you're doing it. I was like He was like, I'm serious. He's like, I'm serious. Like it would affect how the plant grows. And so that's why she said that's why he tries to make his staff like happy and stuff when they're working on the farm and everything. Like
That's
tries to take.
100% true.
Oh wow.
100% true. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Your farm reflects you. It reflects your energy, it reflects your
Mm,
mood, it reflects everything about you. I
that's
don't know how
deep.
nature did that, but it's amazing.
That's deep. Ah. So those people that
Mhm.
are angry very well, those people that have like anger issues, their cassava will be very dry.
They will not even be able to harvest. Don't let me have it. You root a cassava, you just want small. You let me harvest anything.
Oh wow.
So when you're happy, you take care of your. You have to harvest. You harvest one tuber, that is fat and long.
Oh
Ah,
wow.
no,
That's
energy is very important. Yes.
huh. Okay, oh, that's serious. Oh. This is so serious. But anyway,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Lady Nancy. It's been an amazing time just having this conversation with you today. I know that you have so many other things to sort of do at this time, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for enlightening us about the possibility that exists within cassava. And so, for people that are listening on the call that want to get access to your bestseller product, the one you told us about, how can they how can they access your product? People that want to connect with you, how can they connect with you? So just talk about that, and so then we wrap up.
Okay. For those in Cameroon, you can get it at Douala, the practically all the supermarkets, Santa Lucia, Carrefour Market, Bao, Super U, those in Yaoundé, the same thing. And those out of those in the US, you can get it at Maryland, the Made in Cameroon shop in Maryland. Those in
Yeah.
France, you can get it at Bordeaux because it's already there. In Canada, it's at Toronto. And we are trying to see how we can get into Nigeria very soon because
Please do.
we're actually working on exporting in African countries because our great market is outside. So we're trying to see how we can export in African countries. And I met a lot of amazing women too in Nigeria doing cassava, like transforming
Mhm.
cassava into gari. There's a forum and wow, they are doing amazingly well. So I'm instead trying to see now how to do a partnership with them, like
Mhm.
so we can get a uniform product or something like that. So that's where we're working towards Nigeria and Ghana.
Mhm.
Those two,
Mhm.
yes, those two. So very soon, I'm sure you're going to have that in Nigeria and Ghana. Very, very soon. I,
Fantastic.
I think I think December this year, December
Yay!
we're going to have that. Yes.
Sounds really good. Sounds really good. Well, kudos, man. Kudos. Like, well done.
Thank
Like, you
you.
able to sort of take your product, finished product, like from start to finish, your own product outside. That's a lot. That's
Thank
like,
you.
that's a
A
lot.
lot of money and a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of paperwork, yes, because I had invited someone to come in and talk about exports, and he was talking about like
Hmm.
some of the laws, like your product has to
Hmm.
like certain standard for them to accept it.
Hmm.
The cost for the freight, the tariff, and everything.
Hmm.
I just having that conversation. I had it with Ojefo, Mr. Ojefo. Yes, he would talk
And it's
because he.
more complicated if the crop or the product is not in the export trademark. That's why I
Mm,
am pleading. I don't know
mm,
if government officials are watching this. I don't know if the African trademark will be watching this, but I'm pleading. If they can include cassava in the plan, it will be amazing. Because it's
mm.
terrible. Since it's not, you have to pay double. Everything is stressful. I
Mm.
so yes.
But despite that, you've been resilient, just like the cassava itself. You've been
Just
very
like the
resilient.
cassava.
You pushed through all the barrier. You've been
Yes, that is
resilient. Don't
why you have to be your product. You have to be your product yourself. So I am that
yeah,
cassava
yeah,
indeed.
yeah. You are. So I feel. I was saying to someone the other day. I said that there's a gift and the blessedness that comes with being an African. It's just like even if you don't want to, being an African will just teach you how to be resilient because there's so many things that will come up against you, like, and you have to just push through.
Yes,
Like if you don't get it done, nobody else is coming to get it done, so you have to look for a solution.
you have
So
to look for a
it,
solution.
yeah, so inherently, I feel like the system, with the challenges that we have, sort of instills that in every African to just be persistent, resilient, diligent, and hardworking. And that's
Mhm.
why, sometimes I say, like, if you observe uh, in diaspora, as much as we talk about the whole population and things, before they mention like 20 people that are doing well within a sector, there must be an African person of African descent.
Yes.
There must be somebody that maybe, even if they were not bred out of Africa, but they are Africans by
Yeah,
like by
Africans.
origin. There's something. There's just it's there's just something
That's
about us,
true.
and I
Oh,
feel
that's
like
really true.
it's the silver lining. It's just as much as yeah, there's always a silver lining in everything. I was like, yeah, that's just it's just what it is. We have our challenges. No, we're not denying that. Us to just be people of resilience, and that's something
Mm.
for me personally. I'm grateful for that. As I feel like it's like a badge of honor to be an African. Like yeah, I'm African, so it is. We have our challenges, so I'm not disputing it, but
We have
that
and
one
we always overcome them. That's the most amazing part.
exactly. You're sharing your story now. Like when we
Mm.
talk about the export thing, like all the challenges, the paperwork, and but that didn't stop you. And the thing is, I can tell you for free that even before you started out your business and after you started your business, there are many people that have tried to even come into the line of business that you're in now. And some
Exactly.
of them started, they could not continue, they just fall along the wayside, but you're still here. You said 5 years and you have more years to do. See, you talking
Yeah.
about, bringing your product into Nigeria by December and Ghana, by December. So that's a good one. And I say this to say that thank you for just being a light and an inspiration to the young African. Thank you for just being a beacon of hope. And I say this to everyone that come on the platform, like as long as you are doing something, there will always be things that will come up against you to maybe dissuade you, discourage you. There'll be days where you will question your decision. There'll be days where like I'm tired, I beg, I can't deal again, but you still wake up the next day, okay, we are going back, and there'll be days where it feels like you're just all by yourself, you just against the world, and it feels like nobody really understands and nobody sees you. But I'm saying well done and thank you for standing strong even in those tough times, because there'll be a very young person listening to this, whether they are from Cameroon or Nigeria or any other part of Africa, and they're just encouraged by your story and just say, okay, this thing that I'm doing, it might be difficult, but if I've heard the dynasty's story, despite all the difficulty that comes with exporting our product, he has a product in different countries in the world. Definitely, I can do something. And so this is me saying thank you for being an inspiration, whether or not you know it, not just to Cameroonians but to Africans. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank
And so
you
in the
too for the opportunity, to share. A lot of us we look for opportunities like these. So kudos too for the work, and it's an amazing platform, and I hope that we're going to be seeing more videos like this.
Definitely, definitely. And that's part of the reasons why I do it, because I feel like the more we tell these stories, the more people are able to see possibility. Just like when we're talking about investment opportunities, and saying people really don't know that there are these opportunities also in investment within agriculture, aside the mainstream ideas that are being populated, right? So the more people are able to sort of know that, okay, there's this here, okay, I can look into this, I can look into this. Sure. And they much more than just the inspirational part of sharing the story is also the part where people's eyes are opened to possibilities. And just hearing us talking about cassava, when you just said today, I learned from you now that cassava is a blood booster. I only
Yeah.
used to think that it was just sugu, and I jokingly said cassava tea. Maybe somebody will hear that now and do cassava tea. Who knows? If I get to see it in the market, I will know that it's what I
You can
said.
do it.
I'm happy to try it out.
Mhm.
So yeah, we need to tell more of our own stories. We cannot wait for like the mainstream media to just put out a narrative. We should be able to also tell our own stories to
That's
our own people and just help them be encouraged. Like when I said, think of the government as one man that has 500 wives. Only the government cannot do everything. So somebody
they
might hear
can
our
do. They can.
Exactly. Somebody might hear our conversation today and develop maybe an app that makes it easier for you to connect with your people or something. That's still solving the problem. right? It's not just
Yes.
only apps that we are using to transfer money all the time. We should have apps that we can do things. We should have apps that can solve
True.
problems, within the value chain and things. So thank you so much
Mm.
once again. I'm grateful for the gift of you, and I commend the work that you do, even the work that you do with your um, cooperative. Thank you. The trainings that you also give to people as well, the consultations, kudos. And I look forward to seeing much more amazing innovations that you, the cassava enthusiast, will bring on board to the continent.
Definitely we will. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, fantastic.